He wasn't a throwaway. He was a lovable person, stood out of trouble, stood out of the way. He said he never wanted to be around negative things. He did everything right. Who brings a gun to a funeral? Who does that? He gonna be missing. He impact a lot of lives. He truly gonna be missed.
Saturday, April 8th, 2023, 22-year-old Eric Hubert knew from the start that it would be a taxing day. It was the day he had to attend his grandfather's funeral. Eric went to pay his respects to his grandpa at McDuffie's mortuary in the 100 block of West Hamilton near I-45 in Houston, Texas. Never did he think he would lose his life that day while he mourned the loss of his grandfather. And no, it wasn't a gang member responsible. It wasn't what you think. Witnesses say it was his queen great auntie who pulled the trigger. Her name was Queen Jackson. Take a second to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Click the notification bell for all updates. H-Town, if you're watching, let me know below. A Houston family is mourning the loss of two family members. While at the funeral for a grandfather, the deceased grandson's life was taken by his grandfather's sister. This woman shot this young man, and she is the sister of the young man's grandfather. While at the funeral, a fight started between two of the families inside of the funeral home, and it spilled out into the parking lot. According to 67-year-old Queen Jackson, she attempted to break up the fight by pulling out her gun and shooting into the air. Yeah, I know. Sounds like another scene written, produced, and directed by Tyler Perry starring Madea. But Queen says that she tried to shoot the gun in the air, the gun didn't go off, and the grandmother claims she lowered the gun and held it away from her. But records state it went off, hitting Eric in the head one time, reportedly taking him out.
Shooting at a funeral home this weekend leaves a family planning yet another funeral. Police arrested 67-year-old Queen Jackson, and she now faces manslaughter charges. Jackson was in court today. Anayeli Ruiz joins us live outside the jail with the latest on that story. Anayeli.
Well, Jackson is accused of shooting and killing her 22-year-old great-nephew in the head, and it all happened during her brother's funeral. A family mourning the death of their loved one now has to bury a second family member. The woman accused of the crime is 67-year-old Queen Jackson, who now faces manslaughter charges.
Defendant states she intended to stop a verbal argument.
According to records, it happened at Jackson's brother's memorial service Saturday morning at this funeral home near Tidwell and 45 North. Investigators say a fight started inside and spilled outside. That's when they say Jackson pulled out her handgun from her purse
and fired it into the air. She stated she attempted to fire it. The gun failed to discharge. She lowers it and held it in her hand, pointed away from her, and the gun struck the 22-year-old complainant on the side of his head.
Records say she shot and killed 22-year-old Eric Hubert, her brother's grandson.
She shot him in the back of the head, and I witnessed it.
But records say there are conflicting points of view. Some family members believe it was not intentional, while others say it was.
The thing was a murder. It was a murder.
We've reached out to the funeral home to find out if they have any surveillance video, but they tell us they do not. In the meantime, this 67-year-old grandmother now faces manslaughter charges as investigators try to piece together how one funeral service led to another death in the family. We did learn that Jackson is currently a bus driver at Sheldon ISD. We also learned her bond was set at $50,000, and her family was trying to come up with some money to be able to bond her out. Now, we also know she is not to have any contact with her great-nephew's family. Reporting live, Anayeli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
What a wonderful queen mother God. She's a 67-year-old grandmother, possibly great-grandmother, and she's out here carrying on like this, toting guns to funerals, then pulling it out while family members are arguing, and claims that she accidentally shot her great-nephew. You have a group of family members who said it was not an accident, accusing this woman of maliciously committing the crime, saying that she did it on purpose, while other family members are saying that she didn't mean to do it. I don't know, maybe it's possible. And on one side I'm thinking, how do you accidentally do that? Right now, I'm leaning more towards the witnesses who said that she did it on purpose. And then what was Queen's relation to the other folks involved in the fight? What was her role in it? Did she have anything to do with the initiation or escalation of any of this? Hopefully they will end up getting to the bottom of it all. And for the family members who said it was intentional, if that can be proven, I really want new charges added here, because a man getting shot in the head, that's murder. Queen so far was charged with manslaughter. Obviously, this family is dysfunctional, but they're not the only ones. A lot of families are just like this. They love to fight every time they get around each other. It could be the family reunion, the Memorial Day cookout, or the holiday get-together. There's always one mad mental nutcase that will ruin the whole celebration just to have some emotional outburst that's really meant for a psychiatrist or a psychologist in a family group session or something. And then if it's not an emotional outburst, some rude, idiotic family member with a reckless mouth is going to say something to trigger another family member, and then there's a blowout right there. When you have a bunch of toxic family members around each other, it's always one or the other. And then funerals are really sensitive. The family usually in a high emotional state, that's because they're mourning a loved one. So the arguing, it happens, and it's still out of order. But you have to admit, pulling out a gun took it to another level. And that's why I think that grandma should get the max. In Texas, she's looking at anywhere from 2 years to 20 years. Eric was only 22 years old, his whole life ahead of him. I say give her the max. I don't care how old she is. So yeah, lock her up. I don't know why folks think that old people can't go to jail. Old people die in prison every day. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And the Queen wasn't much of a queen at all. If she's the one leading women in the family, it really sucks. So no, hold this woman accountable and lock her up. What's really sad here is that now you have two families feuding, going at it with each other. I mean, they were right in the middle of laying another family member down to rest, and then this happened. This is really sad. RIP to Eric, sending condolences to his family and everyone that was there impacted by all of this. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. I want to know, do you think manslaughter is enough, or should there be more charges added? Special thank you to Christopher, Roosevelt, and Ken. I appreciate you all for your support. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to like and share.
He wasn't a throwaway. He was a lovable person, stood out of trouble, stood out of the way. He said he never wanted to be around negative things. He did everything right.